All right, what is up? Good to see, good to be, beings of the multiverse, lovers, foes, friends, all of the above. Welcome to an upper level episode of Vibe Union Podcast. We're looking at episode 8. Woo! Today, we've got some OGers, some regulars. You know these faces. To my immediate right, we've got Amutha.
Hey, guys.
And to my far right, we've got Rhath.
Hello. Frank Walker from
National Times.
Yeah.
Of course.
God, nostalgia hard. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional custodians of this land we are recording on. I'd like to also pay respects to the elders, both past, present, and emerging. My name is Dilly D, and I will be your MC as per usual. And, you know, until Rhath kind of flips it on its head and takes back the hosting capacity. But it's good to be in the same space with you all.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
We did it. We made it.
Yeah.
This is the second in-person podcast. The face-to-face has been given back to us. We are no longer just avatars online.
No longer lagging as well in our response times.
Yeah, that's a big game changer. Is responding in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something that I feel like I'm strong at, in real-time response. Very comfortable with that. I tried to combine confident and comfortable in the same word. We're just trying new things here today, you know? Because we feel it. We're feeling a festive season spirit. There's a Christmas tree in front of us.
Yes. I wish you could see this beautiful Christmas tree.
Perhaps we'll give it a swing around the camera at the very end.
Yes.
Demonstrate the
We'll do a little
Christmas
cut there.
cheer.
We'll see. But if we don't hold it against us, you know, we'll see if we can remember. What has brought us here together today?
Well, I believe, Amutha, you always amusing, always collecting amazing thoughts and putting them into lasting questions. I don't know where I'm going with this. You had something hot off the presses of your own brain.
I did. Hot off those brain presses. So I visited home recently because it was my older brother's birthday. And we decided to watch videos of him when he was a baby, because why not? And they're going through his day-to-day, so the scenes were just dragging on for like a little too long, so we decided to just skip forward. And we skipped to the point where I started to come into the picture in terms of like my mum was pregnant with me. And then for some reason, it just cut to me at about 1.5. And I'm like, the video camera's on me, and my parents are like, all right, do the thing you were doing before we started recording. And with no hesitation at all, I just started to sing, and like I forgot the camera was there at some point, and I just started singing to like my cousins and my aunties and my mom and my dad. Like I was just going up to them and performing to them, and it kind of blew my mind because I actually had no idea that I started performing like that at that age. Like I didn't even know why I was pursuing music. I was like, okay, this is just a thing that I stumbled upon in the last few years, but it's always been there in the background. I just really didn't notice until Tuesday last week. So the question was, when did you guys realize that you were destined to do the thing that you're doing right now?
Dilly?
I'm going to throw it over to you because I remember you last week saying that when you were younger, you knew that you wanted to be a rock star, and that was something that you seemed clear on from an early age. So I'd like you to flesh that out for us.
All right. 100%. Well, but also I have musical parents, and I spent a lot of time at gigs with them. Just small kind of little things, but they certainly they actually lived off it for a little while. Playing in a band together. So I think I was always surrounded by that anyway. And so I just kind of, and also my dad's like never had, at least while I've been alive, has never had a proper job. He built sculptures and took photos and played in bands and just did kind of stuff like that. Lived off a little bit of disability payments and stuff like that. And so I think I always had in my brain that like, I'm not going to do a real job. That is clearly not for me, which I have worked in hospitality for a long time. And so I did kind of get a real job in a sense, but I'm always...
Is it a real job?
Yeah, it's as close as I can get.
You've offended a lot of people, Dilly.
Pretty much all of our target audience would be people who would probably work in hospitality. You know,
And I think, through that, also, but I think there's always been part of me, I think, that knowing that it's my way of communicating with people. As I've gotten a lot better now, but I think especially younger, I really didn't feel strong socially in any way. And music was my way of talking to the world, I think. If I can put it into a song, then that's going to be far more impactful than me just hanging out with people in a sense. More just so because I wasn't good at it.
It's a powerful realization to have when you're younger, though.
Yeah, totally.
The fact that, the way that you can communicate with the world is through music, and you knew that, I guess, when you were a teenager or something. Is that what you're saying? That's...
early teens, I think. Maybe like 13, 14 or something like that. It's kind of... I think I remember getting a guitar in, like, grade 6 or something like that. And then went from there. Never really... I don't know if I've realized that. Like, it's not so much like... Then I was like, all right, cool. So if this is my communication tool, I need to be really pinpoint precise and really decide what I'm going to do with it. I just kind of knew that was always going to be that expression. So it's still my music now. I still believe is convoluted and isn't touching a bunch of people in a particular way that's like changing the world. But that's the end goal. In a sense.
I would
That's
highly
touched me,
disagree
man.
with that.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah, you say some legit stuff.
Yeah, man.
All right, cool.
Good. Good.
Wasn't fishing,
Take
but
it.
thank you.
No.
A quick question. So do you think that it was mainly environmental and parental factors that influenced your road to being a rock star? Or see, I guess Amutha's example is like, would you say that your parents were musical and that rubbed off? Okay.
Oh, well, look, I would say that my parents are open-minded for considering their cultural upbringing. They're quite open-minded. So I guess their like kind of unconditional love towards me, even though they were restrictive in some regards,
right.
it did allow me to actually step into myself a little bit and like bring out my own strengths, I guess. I think that's probably what it was.
Right. Having
like
that general openness.
Yeah, and kind of allowing me to be myself and do what I like to do at that age. Obviously, as I got older, it became more restrictive because it was like, you need to study and be successful, which is, fine, cultural again.
Well, the threats of a boy is, the threats of boys and other people
Oh,
are
my gosh.
a big deal. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That, maybe from ages 1 onwards and out of, whatever environmental or external influences you were already doing the performing. Therefore, maybe it's something that's always been there, like either unconscious or something that you really haven't needed to focus on. It's more just like tuning into it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
That's one thing I've wondered about myself, because I don't think I had an inherently performative nature when I was younger.
Right.
So I didn't have like that moment of like, I always hear it when comedians talk about kind of finding their place, and there's a lot of people would start with like, oh, they made some people laugh in class, and that laugh was just infectious, and they're like, oh, cool, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and I never had that moment of like getting a massive reaction from people about my music or about any kind of performance, and then being like, you're going to do this, man, this is cool. I never had that in a sense of like, oh, aha, now this is going to be me. I had the realization more so that I think I was always the kid who would prefer to stay home and play with Legos and build shit. And if I'm playing video games, I would always be trying to, I used to make like super elaborate Warcraft 3 maps and stuff like that that no one ever played. I never even uploaded them. I just liked tinkering and making things. And I think that's the part that I always had that very, very early on an aha moment of just like, I just like making stuff. I like being in my own room with music pumping and just tinkering with stuff.
Right. That's the way that you engage and interact and interface with the world.
Yeah.
And like using music as a tool of communication.
Yeah.
Because you were, I guess, in some ways isolated, but in some ways like quite liberated with your exploration of
yes, definitely
puzzles and things.
Definitely. And now I think we brought up last week as well. Like, what's one of the biggest highlights of the past year of being in Vibe Union? And I said, getting called Rhath as just like that's a nickname for me now. That's my name, and that realization that like, okay, cool, the things that I've built are now part of my personality and what I'm putting into the world. So like if I know people through work, like making coffee or something like that, I never really feel like myself because that's not what I do. I don't make stuff I'm making coffee, but like that's not a passionate thing. And so to be now known for making things, even when I was making cartoons and people knew me as this guy who was making cartoons and I met people through that, I felt much more connected to that relationship instantly because like, well, they know that I'm a cartoonist. That's how they found me. Or they know I'm a musician. That's how they found me. So that automatically makes so much more sense to me to be to be that guy in front of those people. And
It's good to be seen. It's fucking good to be seen.
Good to be seen. Good to be known. I think I mentioned that as well last week. Is just feeling like people know you, just completely. That's probably a super undersought after thing in life. I think is like if you're trying to present a certain thing. Be in your workplace or whatnot if you're not really vibing with the people there. So you're just kind of doing what you do, going through the motions. But to feel known by a group of people for who you think you truly are, that's an incredible feeling. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Dilly, where'd you find your aha moment?
I guess it's tough. It's funny. Like I feel like. Okay, so when did like music start to be something that I was engaging with in the world? So, I think it was prep or year one.
Whoa.
Like you play the record, you play the recorder or whatever the hell. You kind of start from there. Like, so my parents weren't necessarily super musical. Like, Dad, when he was younger, probably played the guitar for a couple of years or something, and maybe. Mum, when she was much younger, played a tiny little bit of piano, but it wasn't it was kind of an influence in the sense that my older brother, Chris, who's 3 years older than me, he picked up the guitar from a young age and he really pursued it. And because, and he seemed to have an inherent talent for it. And he was also like quite disciplined as well. So I saw, I guess my brother, pursuing the music thing, and my parents, I guess, similar to your parents, Amutha, quite open, quite, they want their kids to experience as much as they can in the world without, certain limitations. So yeah, I probably started playing the recorder first, and then by grade 3 or 4, I got my hands on the trumpet, and I was in the school band from like year 3 to it was like year 4, 5, 6, 7, like probably up until year 8 or something.
Damn, that's ages.
And also did like junior percussion, senior percussion, all that kind of stuff. In all honesty, I didn't really take it super seriously. Like I had a trumpet teacher, John Patsy, I think his name was, and he was a baller. Like he was a cool young dude who like got kids and made things interesting. And if I had like, the discipline my brother did at that point, it would have been probably great and probably would have gone with it. But it wasn't something, I never saw it as something that was conceivable as a career that I had understood in my mind. Like it didn't seem feasible long term, but and also at that point, being under 18 in school or whatever, I never really wanted to look. I was like a class clown. I loved attention and I liked kind of working for it in a way. Like I didn't want to just get cheap laughs. So I think I was always performing in a way, but I just didn't really see it as something big. I didn't take it seriously enough up until I was probably like 20 or 21, and that was when I've been writing lame poetry since I knew how to write it, and I haven't stopped it. But through school, I didn't think that it was going to be something that I was going to carry on. Like I quit trumpet after a few years, I did go to like band camps and stuff. In band camps in Australia are a bit different to the States. You know, you go home at night. You don't get to fool around, whatever the hell. Well, I mean, maybe not all of them, but the one that I did.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's the best part. You missed out.
I know. I get that. And maybe I would have taken it more seriously if I got to sleep over. But
I found going into any kind of musical camps or anything like that was a huge deterrent to be playing music. I found it's a particular kind of musician that goes to those things early on.
I agree. Yeah. I feel like it's almost harder to fit into like some kind of music school band camp environment. If you are not all the way invested and involved, you have to.
It's so competitive.
It's really competitive. I mean, people aren't there to have a sense of humor or a good time. Like, I guess some people enjoy it and have a good time, but for me, that wasn't. You know, I really interface with the world through a certain level of humor and lightheartedness. And you're right. It was a strong deterrent. Those kind of things. But yeah, it wasn't until like for me when I was like, okay, I want to be on stage and performing, even though like through school band and all that kind of stuff, like I'd been on stage, had performed, but it was never like a solo, this is me thing, except for like a couple times. It was probably when my friends that I got from RMIT who were like involved with, you know, production or writing raps and stuff, they were doing it and I was friends with them and it just seemed so cool. And then I think once the idea and concept of like freestyling and jamming and all this kind of stuff, you know, effectively like a creative brainstorm infused by music, that was like, oh shit, yeah, this is a cool way to explore what I'm thinking inside and like unraveling like unconscious, but then also like, yeah, using it as a tool of communication. Like you're right. Yeah,
that's such an important moment is finding that space where you can a jam session or what have you, be it even just a creative writing session or something like that. And especially if you're already friends with the people and you don't have to, well, that's the thing about those camps is there's a massive social aspect to it.
You got to win people over.
Yeah, and then you also have to perform in front of them at the same time. Like especially at that stage, like that's such a vulnerable thing to do.
So stressful.
To do it with your friends makes so much sense. Which is always that's such a hard thing though. And I was very lucky that I had friends who wanted to play music and we were in bands together. Right. But I think if you don't have that, that's really that would be so insanely difficult to find any sort of confidence to pursue it.
Like I liked people who were in the school band or whatever. My brother was in the school band, and as I said, my brother's 3 years older. I was able to like get along with people who are older, like through that. But it wasn't strictly through music, I guess. I didn't like. I hadn't been planning to do what I'm doing now, before I was 20. Yeah.
Did you find then hanging out at gigs and stuff like that, was that a big part of like what drove you to actually take it seriously?
You hit the nail on the head, man. Yeah. So the first step is like getting a taste of it. You're with your friends, you have a bit of a freestyle or you witness them like, doing the thing and you witness flow and experience that. And it really opens you up to what could be. But yeah, so I think it was 2014. Yeah, probably like 2014, I started going to one night in particular, which is called Can I Kick It? That was hosted at Horse Bazaar in the city. And I think it was Tuesday nights. Essentially, the format of the night is there's kind of two sections that are pretty much the same, just repeated. There's a DJ, there's the host, like the MC host, and then who's got a mic, and then there's a spare mic up on the stage, and the beats are playing, the host like spits a thing, and whoever's in line next, goes up and does the thing. And initially I went and just observed 2 or 3 of these nights, got a gauge of like what is reasonable and what is not, kind of tried to understand if I fit within that, within that spectrum of acceptable performance.
Yeah.
Because I guess like it's fine if that's the moment where you're like, okay, I got to work a bit harder before I jump up there. I think that's fine. Yeah. But you need to know what people are doing if you want to kind of fit into the scene and know your place. Like, and you know your place by knowing yourself. So went there a couple times to observe, and then I got the confidence, you know, whether it was, you know, a beer or whatever it was, like, you're like, fuck it, I'm in the line. There's 7 people in front of me. Like there's a long time for me to stew over whether I'm like gonna bail or go up. You know, that whole time, that's what you're thinking about. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, these people are fucking good at what they're doing. They seem relatively welcoming, but also you don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a sink or swim moment. The stakes aren't that high.
Yeah.
But they
It's
are.
in that
moment, they are.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, they are, because you don't want it. Because you know, when you see the person doing it not so great up there, you're like, oh god, wasn't that embarrassing?
Yeah.
Because it is, and that's fine. Like embarrassment is important. It's good to embarrass yourself, to check yourself like that. So yeah, I got up a couple times, had a bit of fun. Like I was kind of able, through like practicing with my friends an awful lot and myself, and you know, being not great at it for quite some time, was able to go up there, have a bit of a spit, have a little bit of a response from some people, and that was enough just to keep me coming back and coming back for that sweet drip of like, I go up there and like if I can swim for 30 seconds or whatever the hell, great, cool, like, and that was probably really what built. Because what it did, it exposed me to what it was. I got to see all the people doing their thing, and that was just unlimited. Like, it was just so inspiring. You know, that's where I found people like. I mean, through that night, it's how I found people like Toomey, Trix, Bear Flame, D-Rad.
And all of us as well.
All of you, all of the rest of you, yeah. So there was like that. So yeah, there's freestyle nights, and then there's open mics. And open mics is the chance for me to test the stuff that I've worked on my terms.
Yeah.
So the combination of both of those opportunities, yeah, has forever fueled me since.
That's so cool.
I find this interesting because I think that we started with the idea of like, what's the story behind how we got here? But I also, I think we also just uncovered a very important point of being creative in this sense, is because I think a lot of people expect that they're supposed to have that aha moment. They expect that they're supposed to be driven solely by inspiration, solely by this drive to express yourself and to put pure honesty out into the world.
Don't believe it.
But but what I think we've just uncovered is because all these places we started are also directly reflective of what we love most about doing this. I think this is going to be a bit of an assumption of both of you, but for myself, I enjoy going to those open mic nights. I enjoy that time. It's really it is it's a lot of fun. It's very, very thrilling and a great way to meet people, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm not going back with this like urgency of this desire to get back up there.
Right.
I think once I had a bit of a crew, once I met you guys, I was like, I'll go now and then. I'll go and hang out. And when you guys are there, then that's a lot of fun. But that's because more so it's me just hanging out with you guys and getting to mess around. That's a lot of fun. But I already knew that like the studio, that's where I want to be. I want to be in there working all of the time just because that's a happy place for me. And that's the part I also like the most, is presenting it is great on stage. It's a lot of fun, and I'm getting to like it a lot more as my confidence grows. But if for some reason I had to choose, I would take the production any day of the week. I would take making the thing.
Yeah.
But then, so that's my reason for making things. It's just I just enjoy the process of making the stuff.
Right.
But then to see you up on stage, I think you do have there's a much more social element to it, that you really want to connect with the people and drive those nights and help facilitate this sense of energy between everyone.
There's definitely that. It's also like, it's character work at the end of the day. Like, I'm working on myself in the sense of I'm trying to become increasingly comfortable with myself in a various number of situations. And I love the simulation of running the stage because, you know, we all know the spoken word is so powerful. And if you can talk to people and they get it and they understand it, then, I mean, you're going to be able to navigate through the world a lot easier. But it's freeing to let go in the moment of, after you've done the work of the process or the production, you get to let it out with people. And I feel like, Amutha, I think you're on the forefront of living the embodied experience, in that open way, because it's been that way since the start by the sounds of it.
I mean, I've got to say, I wanted to actually piggyback off something that you said, because I think it would be really interesting to discuss. When you're freestyling, both of you as well, and especially at MQ as well, that there's a certain zone that you get into that I think a lot of people who aren't fully into this world don't quite understand. And I'm wondering if either of you could attempt articulating this. It would be interesting to hear.
Well, I was going to mention that's one of the aspects I love most about the performance side of things, and particularly with freestyle, is because I think due to my nature as well of working all the time and being in that mindset of just constantly thinking about stuff that I'm going to be doing.
Being in your head.
Yeah, I'm 100% in my head all the time. And it's something that I've worked on a lot through meditation and things like that to try and get over, because it crippled me socially, because I'm always thinking about my response, not saying a response.
Right.
It hinders my performances a lot. It hinders freestyle a lot, because I'm always thinking too much rather than actually just getting into the literal flow. But when it does click over, when I do hit a freestyle moment where it's just like pure in the moment, pure subconscious is coming out and doing the work for me. That is by far the most liberating thing I've ever felt in my life, because it's honestly the voice in my head shuts up for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you said the word, it's flow. Like you're entering this flow state, and there's no difference between a jazz musician improvising and an elite athlete, hitting whatever peak physical experience moment they're doing, which is because it's such a embodied and known experience, it is thoughtless. Like you are running on autopilot. You've already done the work, you've run the script, and you're leaving it up to fate or the hands of the gods or whatever you want to call it. But it's the kind of experience, I don't know what people's understanding of conscious and unconscious. There's many different ways and levels at looking at this, but unconscious essentially is all the things that are mindless and thoughtless that are ticking over in the background, both good, bad, otherwise. And for me, freestyle enables me to kind of extract some of that and witness and experience some of that. And sometimes that is actually really revealing, and it's a great way to unlock, what's going on inside. And yeah, you're right. If you are in your head and in your thought space, it's inaccessible. You have to go autopilot. You have to get out of your own way. Yeah.
That took so much effort, and it's
a continuous process as well, right?
I saw it's fallen off a lot now. I don't know if I would be able to freestyle very well at the moment, because I haven't done it for a long time. So I have gotten more into my head again. But also I actually noticed a very tangible way of checking this is that I would freestyle one day and then meditate for about half an hour or 20 minutes prior to a freestyle and see what it was like afterwards, and it was inherently so much better, so much freer, and so much I could go for way longer as well. I could freestyle for maybe a couple of minutes without stopping or stumbling. The first day, second day after meditating, I could go for sometimes a fucking hour, because I'm just shut off. I'm just let stuff happen. Maybe I'm repeating myself. Maybe it's not about the quality of the freestyle,
right?
But it is the lack of hindrance of your own inner dialogue or monologue.
I was going to say your approach to music creation seems very free form, Amutha. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I mean, I think the reason I wanted to jump in there is because the way you articulated yourself made me think about something in a way that, okay, if you wanted to relate to this at home, have you ever been in a conversation and maybe it goes deep, or maybe it doesn't go deep. Maybe you're just having banter, but you feel like you're just absolutely in the flow of the moment, and everything you're saying is making you feel good, and it's making yeah. That's the same feeling when you freestyle.
Exactly.
That's the same thing you're accessing. And I guess, it's just that space that I try to access when I am creating as well. I'm used to it now because I have basically no responsibilities. You know, I'm living off my savings. I got no stresses, man. So all I do is sit in my room and just focus on that energy and then create. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. It doesn't happen nonstop all the time. Of course, there's certain days where I can't do it as effectively. And on those days, I respect that I need to take space away from it. And I got to do something else. I got to, you know, recharge myself a little bit. But that's generally it. Yeah, that's the process.
Yeah, and I think, you know, using the example of a conversation is great because it makes it accessible and it is something that everyone can access. And yeah, it's a cool practice to have.
Yeah.
Do you think then you are creating? Because I was going to say the you know, there's different reasons why we all create. I mean, there's shared reasons obviously as well. But if I'm in it, really just I love that workflow, and if Dilly obviously both enjoys the workflow and enjoys the expression, as do I enjoy the expression just as much. But Dilly's got the social element. But do you find that you are almost inherently like it's such based on the expression? You have a need to express yourself.
I would say so. And I can't even say that was something that was always inherently there. It could have been. It could also be the fact that I was bullied growing up and then I felt like I, you know, didn't get that kind of like positive attention or whatever. So there could be so many reasons. I don't want to paint myself like I'm some kind of like pure expression of the universe because I'm really not. Like I have my insecurities and I don't know why I do what I do, why I express the way I express. All I know is that like if it feels good, I'm just going to do it. That's it. Like, and if it genuinely feels good, not like convincing myself, but
I'm the
pleasures
same
of
too.
life. Yeah, there we go. It's a good way to live because, you know, the happier you are, the better life is. That's just it.
Oh, stress will kill you.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think a lot of the drive for, you know, you were talking about is the drive for like attention, like through expression. And at school, like I love the attention, you know, I do love the attention. But obviously like there's a stark contrast between good and bad attention. So I guess like with having that in mind, if the intention is to draw attention, then the expression like has to be like good and worthwhile. And then that just creates a positive feedback loop, which will just forever build on itself. Because if you come out there wanting to say a particular thing because you think that will help or guide, you know, or be relevant to other people out there, then yeah, I mean, hopefully you're going to get a little bit of that energy back.
Yeah.
I've got another question then to follow up with this. So if we've looked at our origins and how that relates to some of the main reasons why we find ourselves creating, one of the biggest drives for us, where does that also take the... Obviously, there's gray areas in all of this. We obviously have multiple reasons to create. We have multiple things that pushed us towards this. And there's multiple purposes behind each project.
Yeah.
But do you find that there's a particular purpose in mind with your projects, especially Amutha?
I'm coming to realize it, you know? Like, I never really understood. It's kind of something that is, like, forever unfolding.
Could I guess it for you?
Oh, please, go ahead.
Are you trying to relieve some of the fundamental suffering that humanity goes through?
Boom. Yeah.
That was going to be my response too, but I just thought it might have been yours.
I mean, isn't that, you know, I think that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to...
Whether it's knowing or not, like whether it's knowingly or not, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all share that. I was going to say, because, I mean, while we're on the topic of, like, this kind of workflow, this rather extreme workflow that I have, I wanted to just mention really quickly my music video because actually just to give you guys an idea like of how far this spans across the way I work. Basically, the way the music video happened was, you know, in a group chat one day on our Wednesday catch-ups, I was like, does anyone know a dancer? So Connor put his hand up and he put me in contact with someone named James. So we did our thing. We went back and forth. I never actually met the guy, right? So we organized for him to come and bring a dance partner because I didn't want to choose another person for him. I wanted someone he would already have chemistry with. And I told him that, like, on the day. Don't worry about planning anything. I just want you to rock up. There are no mistakes. You do whatever you feel. I don't care if you just feel like standing there. Like, just do whatever you genuinely feel. I just wanted to create a space where I knew they felt okay to express themselves exactly how they wanted. Same with Darcy, the guy who did the video. I told him the same thing. I trust your creativity. I trust your process. I just wanted everyone to bring themselves and just let the day flow as it may. And it was amazing. The whole experience was beautiful. I felt like, none of us even felt like we were there to do work. We were just kind of enjoying ourselves. We spent more time just watching the waves crashing in silence than we did actually filming, So it was just a beautiful experience.
And, the proof's in the pudding, because we had more than a sneak peek of the video. We saw the whole thing, Rhath and I, and we were greatly impressed. It's awesome. Like, big ups to you.
Man.
Big
Thank
ups to
you
you
so
setting
much.
up that intuitive creative space for the other artists to do their thing.
That's really the direction I want to head in. I love that so much. I didn't realize how much I loved that until it happened, and I was like, oh, I want to be able to give this to everybody. I want to just have the space so that every artist can come in and just express how they want to express. Like, whoa, that really shifted a lot of things for me that day.
That's great. That's so exciting. That's so exciting
I'm really
to hear
excited.
that, having that intention. I think this is also something that I've felt so privileged having Vibe Union over this year to teach me that, and to be around you especially, is to learn to be able to flick between two different types of workflows, and to know when it's really appropriate to be in that mindset of like, let's just see what comes of the natural progression of our energies on that day. Because obviously when I'm by myself, like my new album that's coming out, like each song has multiple documents. There's ones with a rough plan conceptually, then there's ones kind of detailing little bits of lyrics, then one setting up structure, and before I write any verses or anything like that. And it's so like methodically laid out.
It's
for that
extensive.
project.
I know. I've seen exactly what he's talking about, and I'll tell you one thing: I'm not making those documents before I'm making the tracks.
It's
But I think it's a great method and approach if that's the way that you do it.
Yeah.
That's the process.
And it, for me, in that setting as well, created a work that I'm so much more proud of and so much more connected to as well, because I've put all this thought behind every decision. That being said, though, some of the projects that I'm most proud of are still tracks that I just threw on a beat for somebody, and they're like, "Oh, cool, let's write to this right now." And one of my favorite ones is "Get Ahead" with me and MQ, and that was very much on the moment. I was playing some beats, and he was like, That's the one. I was like, really, this one? Because I don't know how to write to this track. I've always struggled with this track. I don't know what to do with it. He's like, no, today, let's do it. And we started writing then and there, and within 20 minutes, we had it. And I think it's because I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't be methodical in that setting. But with MQ kind of giving me that platform of being like, just get it, just see what comes up right now in this second, then it actually happened. And that was really exciting. Seeing that versus my normal workflow and knowing when I need to flick into a different type of way of thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that alludes to like a bit of a concept of, setting of set and setting, where it's like you set an intention and you also create, the right space, and the right space involves the right people, right? So, I've had similar experiences with people, MQ included, where it's like, I don't know how I would like write to this or figure this track out, but this person like has kind of just shown me their path or way of doing it. They've somehow got their own answer, and it's like, oh, okay. Now with that in mind, it's a lot more accessible. They've like unlocked that locked track,
Yeah.
And it's crazy powerful. And for me, I think I'm very inspired by witnessing other people doing great things. Yeah. And it has to be like close to heart, like accessible, Yeah.
That's one big thing that I do really like getting out of live gigs, especially open mics like that, is just seeing lots of people get up and do something. I do find that really energizing. I can then go away and do my own thing the next day. I don't have an inherent desire to get up on the mic with them,
Right.
but just to be around that kind of creative energy like that in such a free flow manner is, that's really inspiring. And maybe I will go back the next day to my own thing and still be really methodical about it. But you need an in the moment kind of presence and sense of energy from these other people, which can be very difficult if you're locking yourself in your room for years and years.
I was going to say, this is like basically your environment shapes you essentially. Like this is exactly what you're saying, which is such an odd thing to actually think, that like what you put around you truly crafts the way that you embody who you are. It's like if you choose the right people, that's who you're going to become. Like just look at the people around you, like, and that's literally what you're becoming.
It's a combination of projection and reflection.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful way of saying it.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So that's a great way of also then, because, so going to these open mic nights, it can be so daunting to do anything. It's so daunting to put this kind of stuff out there into the world.
Terrifying.
Be it freestyling, even just releasing a project on Bandcamp or something like that. It's terrifying to put it out there into the world.
Yeah.
But by continually surrounding yourself, especially early on, with people who are thinking in the same way and working on the same stuff, even if you don't have anything to show yet, even if you don't have the freestyle skills that you want, going to those gigs are putting in those laying the groundwork for you emotionally to actually be able to work on the stuff later on. And I think that's really where I lacked a lot, because I was so isolated. But I think that's probably really good advice for people who are trying to start stuff. And I see it all the time on Reddit and things like that, younger people talking about, like, I just don't know, I don't have the inspiration, I don't have the drive that I'm looking for, and I don't have the projects to show of what I want to be creating. And it's like, well, it's probably because you're isolated in your bedroom. That's a really hard space to work in.
Yeah, not experiencing life.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you don't experience things, you've got nothing to reflect or communicate. You're just stuck in, I guess, limbo. And if you're stuck in like that kind of limbo, you don't necessarily have a sense of either direction or meaning, which like kind of equates to drive, like helps give you drive to go and do things. And for me, I'm super social. So like you were saying, I feed on other people, in hopefully a nourishing way, for me to be able to in turn do that same thing. Yeah.
That's great. That feels like for me, that feels like a really good, solid bit of advice and a bit of a closing point to kind of wrap this all up in. So, Amutha, I was wondering if you had any other words on your music video, because we're going to give a little bloody sneaky preview in this YouTube video, unless you're listening on Spotify, in which case...
You will hear but not see.
Yeah, you'll hear and won't see. And
So I guess this might even maybe very loosely relate to what we've been talking about. The song itself is called Yes No, and it's this idea. So if I can be real corny for a second and just reference really where this came from. I'm not going to lie. It came from a movie, this idea. So I just finished watching Waking Life for like the millionth time.
Yeah.
And there's a line that this old guy says. He says, to say yes to one instance is to say yes to all of eternity. Oh my God.
So profound.
Just a whole acceptance of this one moment. Like, yes, reality is exactly how it needs to be forever and always.
Right.
To truly feel that in the core of your being is just like, it just awakens you into a new way of perceiving reality. So the idea of yes, no is like, is it yes or no? Are you gonna say yes to life? Or are you gonna keep saying no? And that's my little intro to the song.
Because life's knocking at every corner, right?
It's giving you endless opportunities to accept it for what it is.
Right. It's like you've got limitless opportunities, but you'd probably prefer to say yes earlier on.
Of course. Yeah. I would
it's again laying that groundwork. If you say yes to a situation, say yes to just being part of something, then you are planting that as a potential pattern Because then you're like, okay, well, I said yes last time to going to a freestyle night. I said yes to taking the time to write a poem today, or I said yes to bloody making some cupcakes. Whatever you want. Like, but just by starting that pattern really small, really simply,
incrementally. You're totally right. Yeah.
Then the rest becomes easy. The
That's
rest is
it.
just like, it's what you do now. It's you work on stuff and you make stuff and you're present in the moment. Ugh, we're so cheesy.
The enemy is resistance.
Yes, but not really, because resistance is also your friend. If you resist resistance, then you're just causing more friction, right? So you need to learn to actually appreciate the resistance for what it is.
Or understand why.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just said that, yeah.
Resistance in the sense of like you feel
I don't want to go out because I'm, insecure, or have esteem issues, or have trauma, or feel like I've got a deficit in, social capabilities or whatever it is. I'm just gonna play a computer game instead of coming out and recording a podcast with my friends. That resistance is, I guess, for me, that leads to the no, that leads to the shutdown.
Yeah.
That leads to the lack of openness.
Yeah, so I guess you need to recognize it's hard, but you try and recognize where the resistance is coming from.
Right.
So like a resistance, to going out a lot of the time is sometimes inherently a social fear or a self-preservation kind of thing. While I just despise going to work. I can't stand working a regular job. Yeah. And I always feel lazy, and I always feel like I'm just a deadbeat musician who can't hold down a proper job, which I can.
And then that's how people perceive you when you're serving them coffee.
It totally translates. They absolutely know. I had a reputation within my job that I didn't want to be there. In fact, my boss at least said he appreciated it in a sense that he was like, we actually, it's good having someone around who is great at their job but doesn't want to be here, so I can throw you where I need you, but I also don't need to give you shifts, and you're not going to complain about it. I'm like, no, totally. I need a little bit of money, but then beyond that, I'm good, man, and I'll do the job when I'm there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But recognizing, I actually worked with a guy who said a very similar thing to me, which I really appreciated, us being in the job together at the same time and mentioning this to one another. And he is a creator as well. He's a dancer, who I should have actually mentioned to you.
Oh.
You would love this guy. Very free, only freestyle dancers, I'm pretty sure, as far as I know. But yeah, we had this moment talking about this, and we're like, I just know that this isn't where I'm supposed to be right now. I know that I have more worth to the world somewhere else other than here. And he was like, 100%. And you want to be able to shake that when you're at work. You want to be able to shake that feeling and just get on with it, because there's things you got to do in life that you don't want to do. But there's still a part in the back of your head that says like, no to that. No to the idea that you don't have to do things you don't want to do. If you know that your purpose, that you know that your worth can be so much more to the world somewhere else, then read into that. Find out why you've got this resistance to that. Find out if you think you can be somewhere else and you can do better, then pursue that.
Right.
Use that resistance to your ability.
Right.
Yeah.
That's well said.
I was going to say, actually, to bounce off what you were just saying, sometimes a yes to life is also to say no. Like to say, no, I mean, I deserve better than this. That is also a yes. It's whatever feels genuine, whatever opens you up to life itself. So that was cool that you brought that up, because I did want to clarify that too, and I just forgot.
You're right. It can be healthy to say no, right?
Yeah.
And saying no isn't necessarily resistance. It could just be a smart move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The truest to who you are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Find the source of either your resistance or the yes that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Find the life source.
Problem solved. You'll find it when you die anyway.
We need
so
to
you don't need to rush that.
Start writing our own new age self-help books, which I think actually this podcast kind of is that. If we just took a transcription,
I feel like I can make it up on the spot.
I think so. I think we're all great at doing that. It's just coming up with life advice.
I could give you a top 10 right now. I'll give you top 5 right now. I'm not going to, but I feel like I was born to write some kind of new agey self-help book.
Yeah.
But I prefer to just do it, verbal,
Yeah.
I think that's the right.
It's old school.
Right.
Why I love making podcasts is I just love running my mouth about the way what I think people should live their lives like.
Yeah, I never take my own advice. To know is not to act.
Yeah. It's so much easier to come up with the ideas and than to live rigidly by it.
Yeah, you know.
But this is still setting that precedent, because every time we do this and we talk about it, then it's still going to be locked into our minds more frequently than if we didn't talk about it. We didn't set that motion. It's all full circle, baby.
We're lining up those neural pathways, you
That's
know.
it.
Bloody on that note, here's a little snippet of Amutha's new video, which the link to the full thing is in the description. Is it off the record that you released a little while back, or is it on an upcoming record?
This is an upcoming EP called This Is an Obstacle Dream. And yeah, it's got, I think, 5 tracks on it, and this is the last track on it.
Do we have a release date or like time frame, or you don't want to mention?
Oh no, it's gonna get released on the 6th of December, so pretty soon actually.
Oh, yeah, that's so soon.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
I'm really bad with marketing. I kind of just drop things. I'm like, yeah, it's out now. You can listen to it if you want to.
I do the same. And at some point, we'll have to hire someone to do it for us, because
exactly.
it's almost impossible to get anywhere with that one. But for the time being, it's fun making and then dropping.
Yeah,
I do
that's
love
it.
I do love the soft drop. Links in the description for the full project when it releases. Why not? You know, I think I'll remember to go back and put the links in. And here you bloody go.
Boom.
Don't you know I've got no place to be? I want you just as much as you want me. You want me. You want me. Is it yes or no? Is it yes or no?
Well, that was bloody brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you,
Well done.
guys. Oh,
Good work on getting the right people in the right place, and you know, the track
blessed.
would have carried itself, but you really brought it to life via
thank
the visuals.
you, man. I
Hey.
really, really appreciate it, honestly.
And the costumes are fucking outstanding. So much
thank
fun.
you.
Which you made yourself.
I did. They didn't take me too the ones that the dancers were wearing. They didn't take me too long, but that ruffled sugar daddy robe, my God, took me ages. I loved it though. I loved making it. It was just really tiring.
It looked a little tedious, but it looked great.
Thank you.
Alrighty. This has been
golden. This has been real. This has been IRL. Thanks for sticking around for another episode of the Vibe Union podcast. You know where to catch us on all platforms. You can catch a podcast. Share it with your friends. Do the like, subscribe. Love it. Comment. Rate and review on iTunes. We talked about this last week. We're quite comfortable with negative comments as long as it comes with a high star rating,
high
4
star, that's
plus preferably. So just we're trying to encourage transparency through this platform. So honestly, be brutally honest if you want, but also, you know, give us the stars for allowing you to be brutally honest.
yes.
That's a great call right there.
And if it's fun, we'll read it on here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
there we
that's-
go.
And as MQ said, we're not reading 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
That's just not
You
how
don't
it
get
works.
the attention if you do 1 star.
Right. So don't even think about it.
Got to be 4 and above. I would say even 4.5. Is that pushing it too
I don't
much?
know how the rating system works. I don't know.
I
if you
just
can- I
kinda
don't know if
made
you
that
can
up. I
do
was
half
just-
stars.
Oh, well, then 5. 5 and above.
All right. Exceeding limitations is our direction. Much love, all of you, friends, foes, families, lovers. Enjoy in peace. Bye.
Thank you for joining.